now presiding Leo Panzek versus Justin Zones.
State.
Alright. States, yes. I'm new to this, alright?
Chief Justice Nolan's.
Justice Nolan states. Alright.
Good enough.
Oh shit, my bad.
Oh.
Well, guys, don't be rude.
Be seated.
Leo is down.
All right, so court is now in session, and we are here to dispute whether or not Leo Panzek is rightfully charged for the crimes. We can go ahead and get started with this. If you don't mind, prosecution, do you have a statement that you'd like to bring to the court?
Can you speak up, Joes?
Am I still quiet? Hello?
You think so, please?
I mean, I can hear you.
I'm shouting.
Yeah, I can hear
You
you
gotta
fine.
scream.
What? I'm shouting.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
You're good, you're good.
I'm good? Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Oh, can you speak up? If possible. Excuse me, I can't talk either.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Is this better?
No, it's still the same. Are you yelling?
Yes, I'm yelling.
You might need to check your voice box.
Please, if you're in the gallery, please whisper.
Your Honor, is this better?
Still the same. Can everyone else hear him though?
I can hear them.
You
Yeah,
can-
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name's Hank Bates. I'm a prosecutor for this case today in regards to the state of Florida versus Leo Panzek.
Did you say Florida?
This case is in reference to officers that were involved in a bank robbery or responded to a bank robbery in reference to individuals that were committing a heinous crime within the state of San Andreas.
His voice boxes.
Today we are going to determine whether or not individuals within this city committed a heinous crime of attempted homicide and homicide of officers that protect not only the
Armed
city,
robbery.
but every citizen inside of the city.
I believe armed robbery is on that list too, is it not?
That and reckless evading.
Yeah, reckless
I
evading.
believe there's reckless evading and armed robbery. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's all that I have for an opening statement.
Okay, you can be seated. Mr. Amos, do you have a statement?
I do indeed.
All right. Please present this to the court.
Alrighty. How are you doing today, Your Honor?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic.
Good to hear. You can proceed.
Alrighty. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the court, it is my duty as a defense attorney to bring forth compelling evidence to challenge the accusation against my client, who stands accused of the following: armed robbery and homicide in the second degree, coming along with felony reckless evading. Despite the absence of any robbery equipment or weapons linking up on my client, he could not have possibly committed these crimes, and I will prove that there is no concrete evidence linking them to the act itself. Firstly, the prosecution claims that my client was armed during the alleged robbery. However, no weapon has been recovered with fingerprints from my client, and there are no eyewitness testimonies confirming the presence of any firearm or weapon that has been seen from my client during the incident. Without physical evidence, credible witness accounts, it becomes challenging to establish my client's involvement. Secondly, The absence of any robbery equipment further raises doubts about the validity of charges. Traditional armed robbery often involves tools or objects designed for the purpose of intimidating or restraining victims. Yet, upon investigating, there have been no found items such in my client's possession, nor have they presented any evidence indicating my client's association with individuals who possess such tools. Thirdly, despite there being no prints or weapons found on my client, the officers proceed to charge my client with homicide in the second degree. Yet he had no firearm found on his person that could inflict any bodily harm. Finally, in light of these facts, we urge the court to critically examine the prosecution's case. The absence of robbery equipment and any concrete evidence linking my client to the alleged crime raises reasonable doubt about their involvement. Justice demands that we ensure the innocence of the accused until proven otherwise. I implore you to consider these points carefully and reach a verdict based on the objective examination of the evidence before you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. All right. We shall move on to any witness testimony. Mr. Bates, do you have any witnesses that you'd like to call to the stand?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Officer Gio to stand.
Gio, please take a seat to my left.
It's Trooper Gio to you, sir.
I apologize
Don't
about that.
disrespect the name.
Alright. Do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
Yes.
Your Honor, is Gio speaking currently?
Sorry, who is speaking?
We can't hear him.
Sorry, this is Bill. Was Gio speaking? Because if so, we cannot hear him.
Oh, are you able to speak louder, Trooper?
Yeah, let's redo that
How's
so
that?
everyone can hear that.
Oh, I
hear
think that's perfect.
Alright. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
Yes.
Alright, and do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury?
Again, yes.
Alright.
All right, Mr. Bates, you may begin.
Good morning, Trooper. For the record, could you go ahead and spell your first and last name, your occupation?
I can't hear him.
Oh, you can't hear him? Mr. Bates, are you able
No.
to speak up?
Good morning, Trooper. Can you hear me?
As long as everyone stays quiet, yeah, sure.
Good morning. For the record, can you spell your first and last name, state your occupation, and state the position that you hold in your occupation?
First name is Dom, D-O-M. Last name Gio, G-I-O. Shield number 205. The State Police as a trooper.
And how long have you been in your position, Trooper?
Give or take 10 years.
Well, we do appreciate your service. I'm going to bring you back to the moment on August 3rd, 2023, where you dispatched to a bank robbery at Bobcat Security at Postal 807.
Yes.
And can you give the audience a quick, brief rundown of what you observed when you arrived on scene?
Here. Hold on one second.
Let me stretch my legs real quick.
Your Honor, is he talking?
No, he's taking a moment for something. I think I'm unsure what, but just give him a moment.
Sorry about that. Voices in my head, you know.
Do you want
Trooper, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yeah, you may.
I'm going to bring you back to August 3rd, 2023. Were you dispatched to a robbery at Bobcat Security at Postal 803?
Yes.
When you were dispatched and arrived on scene, can you give the audience a rundown of what you observed?
At the time, we had a black four-door sedan outside. I believe it was parked facing northbound down the street. I arrived later on scene, but the initiating officer, I don't remember who it was, he said that they had a hostage and they were just waiting for them to wrap up. We were undermanned, so we didn't decide to breach or anything, or just listening to their demands with their hostage. And their demands were clean pursuit, free passage, and no spike strips. So we just kind of waited for them to wrap up, and then we began the pursuit.
All right. And then I'm assuming at that point you guys were engaged in a vehicle pursuit with the subjects that were inside of the bank?
Yes, we began a vehicle pursuit in which, between myself and other responding officers, we maintained contact on the vehicle the entire time until we arrived at Pulse. I believe it was 765, where the black sedan crashed into a pole. I ran my vehicle next to the car to try to prevent them from fleeing, and then a gunfight started shortly after that.
And for the record, Your Honor, I meant Bobcat Security, not a bank.
Okay.
Trooper, while engaged in the vehicle pursuit with the vehicle that you guys never lost visual of, at no time did any officer engaged in that vehicle pursuit ever lose sight of it, turning corners, going under bridges, going through alleyways if you guys went through them. Somebody had visual of this vehicle the entire time.
Give or take maybe a second or two, but nothing could have happened in that second that would have changed anything.
Nothing as such as people
Vehicle
getting out of the
stopping,
vehicle or
people
getting
switching,
in the
nothing like that.
vehicle, nothing like that. Okay.
No.
All right. And is it common practice to slam a vehicle into a wall or try to block off a vehicle or pit a vehicle that's engaged in what we all know as a robbery?
Well, considering this was an armed robbery based on the fact that Bobcat Security holds a lot of high-powered firearms in their armory, and we heard gunfire coming from inside the establishment, we knew that these individuals were highly armed and dangerous. And once we found it safe to do so, to where we were able to stop the vehicle, we took that opportunity. They crashed into a telephone pole. And before they were able to back up, I pinned the right front bumper of my car right behind their wheel well up against the pole, so they couldn't back out. Sorry, the left wheel well.
And Trooper, I want to go back to something that you just mentioned during your testimony, and that was that Bobcat Security had a lot of firearms inside of there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are those firearms that are in that facility accessible?
They're typically locked behind a safe.
Okay. And I mean, how hard do you believe those safes are securing those weapons?
The door itself is probably 12 to 16 inches of solid steel with various locks and other security measures, as well as armed security on the premises and a few other locked doors that you would have to get through to get to the
You
safe.
could have objected to that.
Robberies in the past, we've seen thermite being used to break the lock of the safe so they could gain access.
Robert could have
And
objected.
something you know as being a trooper, because obviously the headquarters for your job has lockers that store firearms, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And these weapons that you know to be inside of here due to the nature of the job, um, obviously you know that there are some high-powered firearms inside of this facility.
Correct. They aren't
Objection.
firearms generally available to the public.
Mr. Amos, what are you objecting to?
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Actually, you could disregard.
Okay.
So after this vehicle pursuit ensued, and you guys were able to pit this vehicle into the wall or block this vehicle into the wall, what happened next?
So I exited my vehicle and started taking steps backwards away from the two vehicles to try to get myself distance between myself and the perpetrators that are inside the vehicle. I can't remember too sure, but I believe it was at least 3 or 4 perpetrators exited the vehicle, and then they started firing at me and the other officer that was on scene with me.
So after the 4 subjects bailed out of the vehicle, you retreated from your vehicle and began to take cover. Is that correct?
I attempted to take cover. Yeah, there wasn't really too many places to go, so I just tried to get myself a distance at least.
Okay. And then that's when you said they started opening fire?
Yes.
And out of the 4 suspects that were there, how many of them opened fire on you guys?
All 4.
And did
Totally
any
forgot to
one
join
of those
the
individuals
DOJ
at any point
courtroom thingy.
strike yourself or any other officers that were on scene?
I was struck a couple of times in the vest and body camera, hence why there's no footage on my end from this incident. All the footage got corrupted, and I believe the other officer also sustained similar injuries.
Okay. And then after that happened, what happened next?
I started blacking out from the pain a little bit, and I woke up to EMS. I believe it was 504, as well as 318 Blackburn from LSPD. They arrived on scene. Myself and the other officer got transported to Pillbox Hospital, and Officer Blackburn began evidence processing on the scene.
Is that all your questions, Mr. Bates?
I asked the trooper if he happened to know what Officer Blackburn discovered while processing the scene.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I didn't either. He discovered quite a few shell casings, all different serial numbers. A couple of them didn't come back to anything in our system, which leads us to believe that they were illegal firearms that weren't registered with the city. And the one other shell casing that was recovered was for a separate individual that didn't come back to Leo here.
All right, so when Trooper, can you hear me, Trooper?
Yeah.
That's all right. It sounds like there's some water going on outside.
Yeah. Someone should check on that.
Oh, I think someone hit a fire hydrant.
So, Trooper, from your testimony, is it Officer Blackburn or Trooper Blackburn?
He's with the LSPD. I'm not entirely sure of his rank.
All right.
I know his shield number is 318.
So Officer Blackburn was able to discover a vehicle that was on scene. That was correct?
Correct.
And Officer Blackburn was able to determine that that vehicle belonged to a Leo Panzek. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how did Officer Blackburn obtain that information?
The license plate and the VIN number were still on the vehicle and unobstructed. And when he ran a license plate check on the vehicle and a VIN check, it came back to Leo Panzek.
And after he was able to obtain that information, what did he do next?
He then began a fingerprint swab for all touched areas inside the vehicle, and he recovered quite a few set of freshly laid prints that haven't been disturbed at all. And on the driver's, I believe it was the steering wheel or the driver's side door handle, he discovered a fingerprint also belonging to Leo.
So through the process of doing fingerprints, he located fingerprints on the steering wheel and the door of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct.
And were those fingerprints sent off to be evaluated through forensics?
Yes.
And what did those fingerprints come back as?
They came back as a 100% match for Leo.
And then after that, was the vehicle searched at all or towed or anything?
The vehicle was searched and impounded.
And upon searching of the vehicle, what did you guys locate?
We just discovered a bunch of gardening supplies and 2 grams of methamphetamine in the trunk of the car. But being that it's such a small amount, I just disregarded it for the warrant as there was bigger things going on.
All right, and that's what we refer to as officer discretion. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and let's go on to the shell casing that was located by Officer Blackburn. How many shell casings did he locate?
There was at least, from my memory, there was like 50 or 60 shell casings, but we only took samples for the ones that were on scene that we were able to differentiate the different serial numbers. So we didn't just have a bunch of the same one.
And those were obviously collected and submitted for forensics as well.
Yes.
And what did those come back as?
All of them came back negative except for the one that I mentioned previously. That's part of a different case.
All right. And then after all of that was done, then what happened?
I then contacted the judge and then filed for the warrant for Leo's arrest as well as the other individual for the charges mentioned.
In the process of filing for a warrant, what are things that you're required to present to a judge to obtain a warrant?
Well, we run them through the whole story of what happened. We show them what evidence we have and where we got the evidence from, as well as pictures and copies of said evidence and search results.
And ultimately, the warrant was signed?
Yes. And for the record as well, when we took the fingerprints, the fingerprint was free of any like smudges or anything indicating that it was a freshly laid print and not a print that was smudged or moved around at all from being driven for 10-15 minutes in a high-speed pursuit.
And based on your training and experience, Trooper, what typically happens to fingerprints over time?
Over time, fingerprints will degrade depending on the surface. If it's like a commonly used door handle or any such like that, the fingerprint will get smudged and moved around, specifically on like a steering wheel. People at the steering wheel slide in their hands and it can cause smudging.
And when these fingerprints were taken, they were clear, concise, had a good finger mark on them. There was abrasions, there's no smear marks, there's no nothing. As you testified, correct?
Objection.
What are you objecting to, Mr. Amos?
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
That's all I have for now, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bates. Mr. Amos, do you have any questions for Trooper Geo?
Just a few.
Okay. Go ahead.
Alrighty, Mr. Geo, I'm the defense attorney here. So whenever you were in the vehicle pursuit originally after the Bobcat robbery, whereabouts were you in the chase?
I was driving a heat unit, so I was mainly primary, except with situations where I had to fall out of the pursuit, but then another car took over.
Alrighty,
Whether I missed a turn or had to avoid something for not hitting anyone, that kind of thing.
gotcha. So for most of the pursuit, you were up in front, had a clear visual. Is that right?
Yeah, give or take a second if they like took a corner and then I turned right behind them, kind of thing.
All right. Tying on to whenever the vehicle came to a stop, did the vehicle itself crash, or did an officer hit the vehicle?
That part I'm not entirely sure on because my memory is a little fuzzy from the event, but I do know that the car ended up getting into a telephone pole to where it was disabled and we pinned it in its location to stop it from moving.
You yourself did that? You attempted to block it in, is that right?
Yes, like I mentioned with the prosecutor, I pinned my right front bumper right behind the left front wheel well of the car, pinning it up against the pole.
All right. Going over to the investigation fingerprints part. Were you on scene after the situation had taken place at the cleanup where they were trying to gather any fingerprints? Were you on scene?
Well, luckily when I got shot all around hit my vest and I wear level 4 armor, so I just kind of had some bruising underneath the vest. So they just gave me some pain medicine, and due to the lack of officers available, I went to assist Officer Blackburn with the evidence collection. So yes, I was on scene.
Okay. So did any other officers require any medical treatment?
Yes, one other officer.
And was he in the same scenario as you, where he had a little bit of bruising, or was he a bit more serious?
I believe he had a little bit more bruising, but when I went back to the scene, I don't know where he ended up after that. He might have went home for the day.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't say that there was any serious life-threatening injuries caused?
To my knowledge, no.
Alrighty, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Mr. Bates, do you have anything you'd like to ask Geo further, or is he?
I do, Your Honor.
You do? Okay, step forward.
Trooper, during the entire incident, at any point while the entire situation was going on, was the vehicle involved ever reported stolen?
To our knowledge, no. And neither was the well, that's not related to this case. Disregard that. But no, vehicle was not reported stolen, and there was no. I went back in our MDT tablet and I searched to see if there was any 911 calls for a vehicle being stolen around the time of the incident, plus or minus 1 hour, and I did not see anything.
And as far as your injuries were concerned, your injuries were severe enough that you needed medical treatment. Is that correct?
Correct.
And EMS was able to transport you to the hospital for those treatments?
Yes, EMS transported me to the hospital, gave me a really adorable Hello Kitty Band-Aid, and I was on my way.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Mr. Amos, do you have any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Trooper, you can step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Bates, do you have any further witnesses you'd like to call at this time?
At this time, Your Honor, I don't have any other witnesses.
Okay. Mr. Amos, do you have anybody that you'd like to call to the stand?
I do.
And who would that be?
I've got a few, but the first one I'm going to call up is going to be a Mrs. Amber Jones.
Miss Jones, you may sit beside me to my left.
Alright, Amber, repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
I do.
Alright, do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Alright.
You may begin, Mr. Amos.
Alrighty, Mrs. Jones. What is your current occupation and rank at that employment?
I'm currently head bartender at Bahama Mamas.
Okay, so you have a sort of a leading role, would you say?
I do. I'm over the so-called front of the house, including the bar and food areas.
So that gives you a clear viewing of most of the club, would you say?
I can see anyone who comes in and anyone who leaves.
Alrighty, and at exactly 4:34 p.m., whenever the incident was written, were you open at that time?
We were not open to the public, but we did have staff in the club preparing for tomorrow's event.
I see. And what is tomorrow's event?
We have an event at Bahama Mamas. It's a kind of like a fight club type event, and so
Sustained.
sorry, I couldn't hear.
Okay. So, like you said, you had staff preparing. Was how many staff roughly were in the building?
We had at least half.
It's leading on to my next point.
Your Honor, we're not here to discuss how many employees were on duty at the time. We're here to discuss the events that happened at the bank robbery, to the vehicle pursuit, to the evidence that was found on scene.
Sustained.
Okay, I'll just mix up the plot then. Okay, Miss Amber. At the time the report was submitted at 4:34 p.m., was Mr. Leo Pasnek? Was he in the building?
He was in the club, yes, sir.
Okay, and what was he doing at the club?
Several different things, but he was currently, for most of the night, helping me make up food for tomorrow.
Okay, and how did Mr. Leo arrive?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How did Mr. Leo arrive to the club?
He arrived in his car.
His car, and do you know which car that was?
I don't remember. I know he has several.
I see. And how long were you in the club for?
For a while until I flew out to go in my head. It was pretty late, so I don't remember an exact time.
See. At any time, whenever Mr. Leo left the building, was he at any sort of confusion for any reasons?
The only time I remember him leaving, he stepped outside for a moment because we heard a commotion, and he came back in and said his car was gone.
He said his car was gone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what exactly did he do after he realized that his car was gone?
Not much of anything. We went outside and saw.
Mr. Bates, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
That's all I have to ask, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Mr. Bates, do you have any questions?
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. White.
Sorry, am I also able to ask a question before the council is done over here?
If you have any questions that you'd like to ask at this time, you may proceed.
I have a singular question.
Okay, go ahead.
All right,
Yes.
Mrs. Amber, I'm Bill White, attorney at law. What time, do you know what time Leo arrived at the Bahama Mamas yesterday?
I know I arrived around 3 p.m. And I believe he was already there. There were several people already there.
Okay. Thank you.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Okay. I don't know. All right.
Thank you, Mr. White. All right, Mr. Bates, you may come forward.
How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. For the record, can you spell your first name and last name?
First name Amber, Amber. Last name Jones, Jones.
And it's my understanding that you are coworkers with Mr. Leo. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm sorry if you're saying anything, I can't hear you.
How long have you guys been coworkers?
For several weeks.
And do you guys work pretty often together, or?
We've opened the club once and we've prepared and had meetings before. So, yes, we've interacted numerous times.
I'm sorry, there was a cell phone playing in the audience. You said that you have worked together for time?
Yes, we've worked together numerous times.
All right. Would you consider your relationship with Mr. Leo as friends, acquaintance, or coworkers, or all the above?
We are definitely friends and coworkers. He is head of security. I'm head of the bar. So we're in a lot of upper meetings together, like upper management.
All right. And do you ever hang out with Mr. Leo outside of work, after hours?
Not really. I mean, occasionally, but not really.
Do you find yourself ever in a position where you may try to stick up for Mr. Leo?
Objection. Badgering.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Do you ever see Mr. Leo do anything that he shouldn't do while he's at work?
No, sir. Quite the opposite. As he is head of security, he has to actually make sure that everyone stays in line.
And your head of security or security guards at the place of employment, what is their actual roles as security? What do they do on a day-to-day basis?
So our dancers' safety is number one because it is an exotic dance club. So they are making sure that any guests or clients are not harassing our girls. They're also making sure no one's harassing me up at the bar. They watch the door. They make sure that the peace is kept because, you know, people are drinking there. So sometimes people can get out of hand.
My freaking.
And you
Why
said
is
that
my.
Mr. Leo was there on duty at the time that this alleged incident happened?
He was there with me yesterday. I don't know what time you said exactly it happened, but he was with me yesterday.
And do you have any proof of that?
I have the inventory we made up at Bahama Mamas.
You said you have an inventory that you made up. Is that correct?
Correct. We made items.
So you made an inventory.
We prepared food items and drink beverages.
But you said made up.
As in a synonym for prepared, yes, sir.
Okay. So how do we know that the evidence that you have to prove that Leo was with you wasn't made up?
Objection. Badgering.
Sustained. Excuse me,
Do you
my
have any evidence
eyes
that
are acting a little
shows
strange.
that Leo was there besides your testimony and an inventory list?
No, sir. Because of our security, we do not have cameras in the club, and also because it is a green zone, so there should not be any need for cameras on the premises.
And this inventory list, does it list names?
No, sir. It's like our alcoholic beverages and food items, like our Long Island iced tea, our sliders, that kind of thing.
So
He made
besides-
tacos for me yesterday.
So besides your testimony, there's nothing that you can provide to the court to prove that Leo was present with you during this alleged incident.
No, sir. I do not have any physical evidence other than the inventory he made.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Amos, do you have any further questions for Miss Jones?
Not for Miss Jones, no.
Okay. Miss Jones, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Amos, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, before I do that, is Mr. Blackburn in this courtroom?
Is Mr. Blackburn present?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
No, he's not. He couldn't be available.
Okay.
I understand. Can I have another chance to pull the state trooper up to the stand?
We can. What questions is this in regard to?
Just the DNA and proof of presence of Leo at the scene.
I'll allow it. Trooper Geo, you can come back up to the stand.
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Bates?
for the record, we are enacting fellow officer rule in regards to Mr. Blackburn present.
I'm sorry, was that a question?
I was just advising that Mr. Blackburn is not able to appear today, but we are following the fellow officer rule.
Right. I mean, are you trying to refrain from Mr. G, from Trooper Geo from testifying further, or?
No, Your Honor, I was just advising that anything that Trooper Geo was advised by Officer Blackburn is admissible as the fellow officer rule.
Okay. Trooper, you can come to the stand. Just
Am I all good to go, Your Honor?
Oh, yes. Sorry, my eyes are a little scuffed at the moment, so that's why I'm standing.
Alrighty, Mr. Trooper. So, whenever you got out of the hospital from your treatment, did you have no chance to look at the MDT at the incident that occurred?
Can you say that one more time for me, counselor?
I said, whenever you got out of the hospital from your treatment after the offense that occurred, did you have another chance to look at the MDT to see what happened?
I'm not too sure what you're asking, sir.
I'm
If
asking,
you're
did
asking-
you have a look at the MDT report?
I'm the one that wrote it up, so.
Okay, so you did. Okay then, does that mean that you were the one that had attached all the evidence related to that MDT report?
Yes, Officer Blackburn handed me the evidence. I took my pictures of the reports that I printed out, and I attached all that to the warrant, and then the evidence is logged in the evidence locker room
He
at
looks scuffed.
MRPD.
Okay. So, at anywhere in the MDT, does it show anywhere that Mr. Leo Pesnik has any DNA at that scene of the crime?
There was no blood evidence on the crime scene. The only evidence was the fingerprints that were mentioned previously.
And that was the one that came from the car, is that right?
Correct.
Gotcha. And were you the arresting officer whenever Mr. Pesnik was requesting a bench trial?
As far as like me filing charges, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, yes. So, where exactly did you apprehend Mr. Pesnik originally?
He wasn't apprehended by me. I had the warrant filed for his arrest, and I believe it was Chief Tyson from LSPD that apprehended him. He knew that he had a warrant out for his arrest, and I think Leo spontaneously uttered his name to him for some medical treatment, and he recognized his name, and they placed him under. But like I said, I wasn't there for that. I'm only here for this part and then the initial scene.
Gotcha. So is it policy, so to say, that if Tyson was the one that had served his warrant, would he have to put any new evidence or anything that was gathered on Mr. Pezzek's person at the time?
As far as anything incidental to his arrest, then yes.
Okay. And if you're aware or not, there is no weapon, any proof of a weapon, bullet shell or anything like that leading to Mr. Pezzek, is that correct?
I'm not aware of any evidence found on his person, no, but being that he was arrested sometime after the events occurred, over 12, 14, even 16 hours, it would have been next to impossible for, whatchamacallit. I mean, he could have easily placed it somewhere else and
You've
ditched
answered my
it.
question.
Yeah. He,
Questions.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Ms. Spates, do you have any questions for the trooper at this time?
I don't, Your Honor.
Okay, you can step down again.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Amos, who is the second witness that you wish to call?
I wish to call Mr. Jason Filey, or Jason Philly, something like that.
You can come up to the stand.
All right. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
I do.
Do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
All right.
Alrighty, Mr. Jason, can you spell out your first and last name for the court for the record?
Can you do the?
It's JASONFILEY.
Okay, and what is your current occupation and rank?
I am a trainee on security for Bahama Mama.
Bahama Mama's being the same place where Mr. Pezzek works, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and were you at the bar with Mr. Pezzek at the time of the alleged crimes?
That's correct. I was with other people, other security guards, forming a meeting about the plan for the events of Saturday.
Gotcha.
I'm so scuffed right now.
What time did you arrive?
I'm so scuffed.
I had arrived at about 3 p.m., get an early start.
So around about the same time Amber did?
That's correct, sir.
Alright, and I'm assuming, although I'll let you tell me, whenever you arrived, was Leo present at that time, or did he come shortly after?
Leo was already present at that time.
Okay, and at that time, did you recognize any car belonging to him outside?
Yes, sir, I did.
Could you verify what car that was?
I want to say it was a black four-door sedan. I'm not exactly sure the make and model.
Black four-door sedan. Alrighty. So, were you there whenever Mr. Leo stepped outside briefly and noticed that his car was not there?
Yes, sir. So we heard a commotion, and being a security, I stepped out as well to see what was going on, and his car was gone.
Okay, and what steps did Mr. Pezzek take after he had realized that his car was gone?
I mean, we figured it was just the city being the city, and we went back to our duties.
With that being said, did anybody else's car mysteriously disappear?
No, sir.
Alrighty, no further questions.
Mr. Bates, do you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man.
for the record, you said your name was Jason?
Jason Philly.
Nice to meet you, Jason. And you said that you're a security guard in training at Bahama Mamas, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what is your relationship to Mr. Leo?
He's my boss.
And how long have you been working for Mr. Leo?
About 2 weeks.
Do you like working for Mr. Leo?
Of course. He's great.
You do anything for him?
I don't really like the tone of that question. What you mean anything?
Well,
I'll
I
do what
asked
he
you a question,
requires of
sir.
me
You
for
need-
the
You
job.
need to answer the question that I asked. I asked if you liked working for him.
I answered that question. I'll do
You did-
anything that he requires of me at my job.
All right. And the night that you said that you arrived at Bahama Mamas and you were there for your shift, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you said you heard some commotions outside and doing job of security, you went out there to kind of figure out what was going on.
I investigated it. Yes, I did.
And you said that you observed Mr. Leo's vehicle not present, is that correct?
That's correct. Mr. Leo's vehicle was not present.
What kind of vehicle was that again?
A black four-door sedan.
All
Your
right.
Honor, could you have the witness speak up, please? I'm having a very hard time hearing him.
Yes. Are you able to yell, Mr.
I'm
Fire?
currently shouting right now.
Can you hear him, Mr. White?
Yeah, if he keeps talking like that, then yes.
Okay.
Bill, if you want to come over my side, you can hear much better.
Am I allowed to do that, Your Honor?
Yes, yes. You can walk the well.
I can't really walk. But...
Roll,
he's not
roll,
rolling
roll
right
the
now.
well. Roll the well.
All right. How do you know it was Mr. Leo's vehicle by chance?
He always parks in the front parking spot at Bahama Mama, like the very one till you get to the curb.
So there was no characteristics of the vehicle. There was no specific things about this vehicle that made you see that it was Leo's vehicle other than the spot that it was parked in.
That's correct.
So if I put two vehicles side by side, would you be able to identify which one was Mr. Leo's?
I mean, Leo's is tinted. That's about all I know.
I asked if I put two vehicles identical side by side, if you'd be able to identify Mr. Leo's.
Maybe.
All right. And do you have any evidence that puts Mr. Leo present at Bahama Mamas during this incident?
I mean, just my testimony.
You don't have any video surveillance. You don't have any pictures. You don't have anything like that that would put him there at the time?
No, for privacy of dancers, we don't have audio or video recording inside the club, nor are pictures or photographs allowed.
But when you went outside to hear the commotion, was Mr. Leo not with you?
He was with me. I went with him.
And you didn't take any photographs of him or anything like that?
No, why would I?
And you said that after that, you said, what did Mr. Leo do after that?
We just assumed it was the city being the city, and we moved on to our duties for preparing for tomorrow night.
You never reported the vehicle stolen, is that correct? Or he never reported the vehicle stolen, is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. If your vehicle was missing, what would you do?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's a very valuable asset to you, right?
Sometimes I got a lot of vehicles.
Understood, understood. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Mr. Amos, do you have any questions?
Negative, Your Honor.
Mr. White, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Amos, do you have a third witness that you'd like to call?
I do. Mr. Igor Krastov.
Mr. Krastov, you may step up to the stand. Do you mind if we take a brief moment so I can fix my eyes?
Absolutely.
Because,
By me, mate.
yeah, let me just take a quick nap.
apple that you gave me.
Okay.
Can we get everyone back in the courtroom?
That I needed
go
that.
use the restrooms.
I can finally sit in the chair.
Little break, you know.
Your Honor, I got a question for you.
Of course, go ahead.
How many of these objection things are there? I don't really know how this whole court thing works.
So, do you mean like how many
Like
types
how many
of
different types?
different types? Okay, so you have hearsay, relevance, you have speculation. There's also forms of badgering. You know, badgering the witness. Could be an objection to that. An already answered question. I know I said speculation. Let's see. I think there's one more that I'm missing. I know there's one more. Relevance, speculation,
Robert?
hearsay.
Robert, I have.
All right.
another case
Yeah,
for
those
you
are.
that I
The
need to go,
badgering doesn't actually involve an
to
actual
go,
badger, does it?
No.
Okay,
It's just
okay,
it's
good.
just counsel
Good luck,
pretty much
Bill.
being more aggressive with their questions or trying to intimidate the witness.
Oh
So
man, he's gonna have to try a lot harder to intimidate. He's got a pretty soft-spoken voice. No offense to him.
no, that's fine.
Oh,
That's fine. Language.
I don't want to hear that profanity in here, right?
Watch your
Yeah, I
profanity,
can hear
man.
you up there, Anthony.
Holy,
What do you mean you didn't know?
guacamole.
Oh, whatever. I'm not disputing that.
I don't know. There'd be people up there. Where else are people hiding in there?
But you'd be surprised.
I mean, there's not a spot under this desk, so I think I'm safe.
Yeah, no, nobody can hide under these desks.
Do we got one of those teleprompter people that write all this down?
No, we don't have a stenographer. I've been.
You're gonna have to say that a lot slower in it.
We don't have a stenographer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask my brother how to spell that later.
I've been taking notes though as we've been going.
No problem, no problem. I just, the big words scare me occasionally. You know what I mean, man?
No, it's okay. I'm not all about the legalese
don't know.
type of jargon that kind of confuses me. Like the only things that I use is like ex parte, which means somebody who isn't present during a trial.
Like that one Burnside or the other officer's name.
Exactly, Blackburn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blackburn.
But we could say in this case, like let's say Trooper Geo wasn't around for
gentlemen.
this case, but the prosecutor was still
How you
present. Trooper would be ex parte
Good.
to be represented, but his lawyer would be representing him. Or
That's
the
okay.
same can go for the defense as well, as long as the person
Sounds
is
to me.
consenting for their lawyer to represent them when they're not there.
Sounds good to me, man.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Malfoy.
All right. Are we ready to continue?
Are we all good?
Sorry,
Everyone's
I can't get a
here.
boner at work. I can't get a boner at work. Please. Am I all good to proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Are we doing that oath thing?
Oh yeah.
yet?
Yep.
I don't want.
I don't
this
know
to
if that
be
was done when I.
inadmissible.
I don't know if that was done when I was taking a
Let's
nap or
just
not.
duly note that he
All
offered
right.
his services.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
Yes, sir.
And do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Amos,
Mr.
you may proceed. Sorry.
No, you're all good. Mr. Igor Krastov, how are you
Yes,
doing
sir.
today?
I'm having a fantastic day. How about yourself, sir?
I am doing fabulous, thank you. So, on the day that these happened, hold on. Wow, really dance.
Are you okay?
Anyway,
Oh.
yeah, sorry, I heard music. in
That
my
that's
ears.
okay.
That put me off for a second. There we go.
Mm.
Right. So, what is your current occupation and rank with that employment?
I currently work at Bahama Mamas with Luca Trangreta. I kind of help organize things at the top with him and Jaden, which is another owner of the business. I also work as security slash as a bouncer. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades for the company, sir.
So you have a high understanding of how things work, you would say?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, and what is your current friendship with all your employees? Are you close to them? Are you drifted apart, or how's it vary?
The only person I'd say anyone other than acquaintance would be my brother Jason that was up here earlier. But everyone else I keep strictly business and pleasure separated. I don't work with my coworkers, and I don't do other things with them.
I understand. And that would be the same for Mr. Pesnik. Is that right?
Yes, sir. He's one of the head bouncers. I try not to get into his personal business as long as it doesn't get brought into work.
I see. So you work under him, is that correct?
When I'm working security, yes. When I'm running other things in the business, he's under me.
Okay. And were you in the club on the night that these accused incidents happened?
Yes, sir, I was. I was helping out Miss Amber Jones with preparing stuff and also going over the possible security details and issues that we had with kidnapping attempts prior nights.
I see. So you would say that your security job is quite important due to the high risk of kidnappings, like you said.
Yes, sir. After our opening night, we've had attempted robberies of vehicles, personnel, and vehicles, people, and equipment from the club.
Okay. And mentioning on that kidnapping that you brought up, did any of the employees put in any police report for that?
Negative. We try to handle everything that we can in house, sir. Simply, once it's outside the walls of the club, is typically whenever police reports happen. But it's something that, as a business, it typically has to wait at least to the next business day. But since this is typically things we operate the business on weekends, it's not something we can put in a police report for.
Gotcha. And whenever you had arrived at the club, was Mr. Pesnik, was he there beforehand, or did he arrive after?
We had, I'd say, roughly showed up around the same time as I was letting everyone know to get there for setting up and preparing for the night. And his black BMW, four-door sedan, it was parked in his first spot. Parks there every single time.
Gotcha. And did that said black BMW four-door sedan, did that have tinted windows?
Oh yeah, all blacked out. Couldn't even see a soul through it.
Gotcha. And whenever you all headed outside and you were preparing all your food for this tomorrow night, did you hear any commotion outside? Any scuffling, anything like that?
It's typically we play music at a low decibel while we're in there. Keep things easy going while we're working, not to try to work the elbows off any of our personnel. But at some point, I believe we did hear horns as a car alarm, possibly. But the locals do tend to smack into our vehicles out there. Occasionally, even fucking the valets. Everyone's aware of. They are quite ostentatious, if I'm using that word correctly. They like hidden things when they're joyriding to get you your vehicle.
I believe the word
Gotcha.
is ostentatious.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, but hell yeah, nice word. So like you said, you heard a car alarm going off. Is that right?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And did you go outside to investigate this said car alarm?
I believe some of the other personnel we have working for us stepped outside, but personally, I did not step outside, no.
Okay, and are you on a business radio whilst you're on the Bahama Mama's grounds?
Yes, while we're on Bahama Mama's grounds, it's business formal, and we wear earpieces so we can stay in contact across the club.
Okay, and whenever they step outside, was there anything said on the radio?
They had brought up about his vehicle being missing, and they brought up that they just assumed that something with the locals had happened, whether the valet went to go park it out of cordon with his job duties or something along those lines. But as I said earlier, we typically leave those things to the next business day for any reports or any possibilities of that to make sure things haven't just been a mistake. The other employees do seem to share keys occasionally.
Gotcha. All right. And since you're quite high up in security, as the other employees have said, is it correct, to my understanding, that you guys don't have any security cameras inside or outside the building?
Negative. That is something outside of our control, and since it is a explicit club with the females for their own privacy and safety, we do not record anywhere on the premises or outside the premises, sir.
Gotcha. I have no further questions, Mr. Crossfield.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bates, do you have any questions at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, sir?
Good. For the record, what was your first name?
Igor, Igor, sir.
Nice to meet you, Igor. I want to go back to previous testimony that you just gave in regards to being at the club. You said to the defense that Mr. Leo arrived at the club. Was that correct?
Yes, he did arrive at the club around the same time as me, sir.
And he parked his black BMW, you said, in the same spot as usual?
Black four-door BMW was my exact words, and in the lead spot as he always parks, sir.
And are there any characteristics on this vehicle outside of a spot that he commonly parks in that you would be able to distinctly say it's his vehicle?
Being able to watch him get out of the vehicle, sir, and that I've ridden in it at least once for business occupation activity, sir.
Okay. And what time did Mr. Leo arrive at the club?
Oh, sir, I don't have a watch. I don't know what time we arrived.
Okay. Do you know what time Mr. Leo left?
Sir, that'd be sometime before I left, but that was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, give or take.
Okay. So you left at 2 o'clock in the morning. Is that accurate?
About 3 o'clock in the morning. I like to do a final close down, make sure everything's clean. No one's left anything in the club, especially the workers, since we weren't open to the public, sir.
Okay. So it's safe to say that you don't know what time Mr. Leo arrived or what time Mr. Leo left. Is that accurate?
The last time I saw was 2 o'clock in the morning, sir. One of the clocks on the wall inside.
Okay. And you said Leo is a employee of yours?
When I'm under the management position, he's my employee. When I'm under security, he is my boss.
Okay. And when Leo left, did he say anything about his vehicle at all?
I believe he was already aware. They had talked about it over the radio as discussed before, sir.
Okay. So when he left, how did he leave?
I believe he caught a ride or he walked. I wasn't sure on that. I did not follow him out of the building.
Okay. And college, do you know if he made a stolen vehicle report at all?
Could you speak up, sir?
Sorry about that. When he found out about his vehicle not being there, at any point, to your knowledge, did he make a stolen vehicle report?
As I said earlier, sir, we typically move all those things to the next business day. And seeing as we're doing all these things, preparing for the event on the club, I believe it was something that was pushed off, but I cannot speak for him.
All right. Did you at any point even contact the police just to give them a heads up to be on the lookout for it?
That is none of my business, sir. It's his personal property. Like I said, I keep personal issues and business issues unrelated to me.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay. Mr. Amos, do you have any further questions?
I do not.
All right. You may step down.
Thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Do either the prosecution and or defense have any closing arguments that they would like to make, or would they like to present any further evidence at this time?
Your Honor, I have 2 more witnesses.
You have 2 more witnesses?
That's right.
Who are they?
That would be a couple behind me, Maverick and Willow Aku.
Are they testifying separately?
Yes.
Okay. You may call them to this. You may call one of them to the stand.
Okay. Mrs. Willow Aku, could you please come to the stand?
All right. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
I do.
And do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pains and penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right.
Okay, Mrs. Willow, could you please spell your first and your last name for the court?
Yes, it's Willow. Last name Aku, AKU.
Okay. What is your current employment?
I am head dancer at Bahama Mamas.
Head dancer at Bahama Mamas being the same place Mr. Mr. Leo works at, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and how often, whenever you guys open, do you see Mr. Leo?
When we're open, or like when we're doing the when we're doing the dancing and preparing for events?
Both. Like, how often weekly do you see Mr. Leo?
A lot of the time he's at the club. I don't know exact dates or how much he's actually there.
I see. Were you at the club the nights that Mr. Leo's car disappeared?
Yes.
And were you on the radio at that time?
Yes.
And you heard him say something about that, is that right?
Yes.
Alrighty. And whenever you were inside the club afterwards, how roughly how long, an estimate, how long were you there for after the disappearance?
I was there for probably about 2 to 3 hours after.
2 to 3 hours after. And was Leo with you for that then full 2 or 3 hours, or did he leave before?
He was there.
For the full 3 hours?
Yes.
Alrighty. And whenever he went to leave, how did he leave?
I don't really understand the question. I'm sorry.
I'll
Can I
rephrase.
clarify something real quick? So was it when? Can we go back to the question about when you arrived? Because I wasn't sure the exact time, or if you said, I heard 2 to 3 hours, because I wasn't sure what you meant by that.
So I was there 2 to 3 hours.
Okay. And was this before or after? Just because I'm taking notes as we're doing this, and I probably missed a couple of things.
She was there 2 to 3 hours after the disappearance.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Like she had been there 2 to 3 hours, not like she had arrived.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was okay. You were already there. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. You can continue.
Alrighty. I completely lost all of my question. I can't lie. I've been blank. I have no further questions.
I apologize, Mr. Amos.
All good, Your Honor.
Mr. Bates, do you have any questions at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Can you state your first name for the record, please?
Willow. Aku.
Nice to meet you, Willow. I want to go back to the time that you said you were there. What time did you arrive at the club?
I probably arrived there at probably 4 p.m.
And what time did you leave?
Roughly left at. Sorry, I'm trying to think. Like 1 a.m.
And the entire time that you were at the club, was Mr. Leo there with you? Not
Yes.
specifically with you, but at the club.
Yes.
And where's your place of employment?
Bahama Mamas.
And how long have you been working there?
Probably about a year now.
And who's your boss?
Luca.
Do you have any evidence, other than your word, that you can provide as evidence to the court that Mr. Leo was present with you during those time frames?
I do not have any like footage or anything.
No pictures, no footage, no nothing of those sorts?
No, we're not allowed cameras in there.
I have no further questions.
Was that all your questions, Mr. Bates? Are there further questions?
Not for me.
Okay. You may step down. All right, Mr. Amos, you may call your next witness.
I'm gonna call Mr. Maverick Aku, and then I will call my defendant.
Okay. Mr. Aku.
Mr. Maverick.
You may need. Yeah, you might need to call your client.
Yeah, I'll call my client. Could Mr.
Right.
Leo Panzek come to the stand?
Mr. Panzek, you may step onto the stand here.
Alright, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you tay?
Yes, I do.
And do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Alright.
Okay, Mr. Leo. You are the accused defendant, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you work at Bahama Mamas, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I'm a head bouncer there.
A head bouncer, so you, just like Mrs. Amber Jones, you have a sense of leadership, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, and were you working on the 3rd of August around 4:30
Yes.
p.m.?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay, and what time did you arrive?
About the same time Igor was. I believe it was about 12:30 p.m.
12:30 p.m. And how did you arrive?
I drove in my BMW M5. It is all black. Typically has purple lights as well as underglow on the vehicle as well, so it is very easy to notice the vehicle.
I see. And does it have tinted windows?
Repeat that question one more time.
Does it have tinted windows?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, and do you know the license plate of your vehicle?
I do not.
Okay. And like the others have been doing, were you preparing food or were you acting as a sense of security?
Yes, sir, I was. So with Igor being my superior, we were covering security detail that was going to be coming up for the event that we're having tomorrow, August 5th. And then after that, I did help Amber with making food, such as tacos, and I did assist making some alcoholic beverages as well.
I see. And at any point that night, around the disappearance of your vehicle, did you have any alcohol to drink?
I did not, no.
Okay.
But I did hear commotion outside. Well, a few of us did. We did go outside. Noticed that my car was gone. I did want to say I did attempt to make a police report. I have actually made a few other police reports prior to the said incident as well. Actually, quite a few times in a different variety of days. No cops show up. So it came out completely void.
I see. All right. So Whenever you had realized your car was had disappeared, what was your next steps? What exactly did you do?
So like I said, I did try to file a police report. No police showed up to the scene, unfortunately. After that, I kind of just assumed that it got towed to the Civ impound lot, so I was just gonna recall it whenever, or call my valet to get it whenever I was finished at work.
I see. And what time roughly did you finish work?
It was about 2:30, 3-ish in the morning.
2:33ish in the morning. Okay. And did you valet your BMW or?
So unfortunately, it wouldn't allow me to. The valet wasn't able to pick it up, so I did have to resort to a different vehicle, which is my Comanche, which is my truck.
Do you think possibly the reason that you were not able to valet your car could be possibly because the police had impounded it?
That is now a heavy possibility, yes.
Understand. And this just bring it to the fence a little bit that have not been said so far. Whenever you were initially brought in for the warrant that you had, where were you at that time?
So I actually flew out for, I would say it was like 5-10 minutes because I had some personal stuff I had to take care of. Upon flying back in, I did fly in bleeding out on the ground in the middle of Legion Square. At that point, I put in a 311 call to EMS to um, come help me out to, get me back up onto my feet, stop hurting. Upon 3 minutes afterwards, two police officers in a red Charger came up, picked me up, and then proceeded to tell me that I had warrants out for my arrest that I had no idea about.
Okay, and did at any time after that, did they give you any medical treatment?
They did, in fact, give me medical treatment, yes.
Okay, and then would I be correct in saying that they apprehended you, read you your rights, and took you to the cells?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Mr. Bates, do you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you state your name for the record?
It's Leo Panzek.
Nice to meet you, Leo. I want to go back to a few of the things that you just testified about. And I want to start off with the time that you arrived at the club. Can you state what time that was?
Sorry, I could barely hear you.
I apologize. I want to go back to the time that you stated you arrived at Bahama Mount or at the club. Can you state what time that was?
I'm gonna be honest. I still could barely hear you. I have bad hearing.
Is this better for you?
A little bit.
Can you state what time you arrived at the club?
Yeah, it was about 12 p.m.
And after you arrived at 12 p.m., what did you do? After you arrived at the club, what did you do?
Sorry, I could barely, I can't hear him at all.
Your Honor, do you mind if I approach him just a little bit?
Yeah, you can come closer so I can hear you.
Can you hear me better, sir?
Yes, sir.
Once you arrived at the club at about 12 p.m., what did you do?
Like what I told my lawyer is, me and Igor, since he is technically a higher standard than I am, we covered some security detail that for our event tomorrow, August 5th. On top of that, afterwards, I did assist Amber with making some alcoholic beverages as well as making food such as tacos. And then after, I would say I can't recollect on how long it was. We did hear commotion outside.
And then at that point, that's when you decided to go outside.
Yes, sir.
And what did you notice when you went outside?
My car was missing.
And what did you do at that point?
I did try to file a police report. On top of that, I did try to file police reports previously in different days. None of them were ever responded to, so I completely contacted it as void.
And when you said you tried to file a police report, what exactly do you mean by you tried? Did you call 911 and they just didn't respond, or exactly
I used
explain
my
that?
app.
You used your app. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
At any point, did you try to call 911 instead of
I did
using an
not.
app?
I did not.
Is there a reason why you didn't call 911?
Does the app not work?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Does the app not work?
That wasn't the question. The question was, is there a reason why you didn't call 911?
Well, I assumed that the app was up and running and working.
Okay. And do you have any proof that you could provide to the court that you attempted to make a report with the police department?
Well, I didn't assume I would have to, so I do not.
Okay, so you have no proof that you can provide that you attempted to make a police report.
Yeah, like I said, I had no idea I was gonna have to, so no, I do not.
All right. And let's go back to the portion of when you were before you were taken into custody. Can you explain that to me?
Like, how so? Can you rephrase?
You previously testified that um, you were picked up on the warrant. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where were you when you were picked up on that warrant?
As what I told my lawyer, I've had to fly out for 5 to 10 minutes to take care of some personal deeds. Upon flying back in, I tried to, it flew me back into Legion Square. Upon approaching to Legion Square, I was bleeding out. At that point, I did make a 311 call to EMS, and upon a couple minutes afterwards, 2 officers in a red Charger came and picked me up.
And from the time that your vehicle was supposedly stolen to the time that you were picked up for the warrant, roughly how long was that?
I don't remember what time I was specifically picked up from the warrant. I believe it was about 7, 8 o'clock. The car was stolen roughly around 4 to 3:50, somewhere around there.
Okay. And at no point during that long time frame did you, let me rephrase, at any point during that long time frame of from the time that the car was stolen to the time you were picked up, did you try to make a police report again after the first time?
Well, like I said, I've already tried making multiple police reports previously to this incident. None of them were ever looked at because no police ever showed up. So I just kind of assumed that it got taken to the civ impound. So I was just gonna call it whenever I got off of work. Um, Later that night, upon trying to call my valet for the car, it wouldn't allow me to, so I ended up just calling in my truck, the Comanche.
Are you aware that the police department can place what we call a bolo, be on the lookout for your vehicle, and state that it's stolen?
I was not aware, no.
Okay. And in reference to your vehicle, Who has
Oh,
access
hold
to your
on.
vehicle?
Can you repeat that question one more time? Sorry.
And in reference to your vehicle, who has access to your vehicle? Who has keys?
Me and myself only, but I have seen people while driving by stealing keys from cars.
And are you aware that you have specific characteristics when it comes to fingerprints?
I do.
And are you aware that your fingerprints are in databases within the state?
Correct.
And for the record, one more time, I seem to have missed it. What time did you leave the club?
About 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Judge,
Yes.
is it okay if I ask the prosecutor a question?
What is this in regards to?
To the so-called heist that I was a part of?
Mr. Bates, do you mind if he asks you a question?
Go ahead for it.
All right, ask
So
him.
you allegedly say that my fingerprints were on the vehicle, but was there anybody else's?
Your Honor, I'm going to need a moment on that.
Okay. Oh, do you want him to repeat the question?
My partner over here is not present at the moment.
Oh, he must have. Yeah. Okay.
If you don't mind me asking, once he gets back, there's actually a couple questions I would like to know.
Your Honor, I think I'll be able to answer his question without my partner here.
Okay, go ahead.
I am not aware. I'm not aware of any other fingerprints being present on your vehicle. There would have to be a subpoena to prove your answer, but your fingerprints were obtained off of the steering wheel of that vehicle, which were lifted without any issues.
Okay, but didn't the officer say that there was 4 individuals and it was also taken off of the door?
His testimony was that there was 4 individuals involved and the fingerprints were lifted off of the steering wheel and the driver door.
So if there was 4 individuals, wouldn't there be more fingerprints than just mine? So in that case, don't you think that it was a possibility they could have been wearing gloves? Which would be
Your
the
Honor,
cause
can I
of
provide
my...
some clarification?
Yes.
The fingerprints from Leo were lifted off of the door handle and the door handle for the driver's door and this and the steering wheel. The other prints were not lifted from that location. They were taken from other areas of the car that weren't by the driver's seat.
Because I'm confused. If there was 4 individuals and I was said there, wouldn't there be more fingerprints than just mine?
There were more fingerprints, but there was only one set that came back to a positive print.
And then on top of that, did you guys do any testing at said Bobcat as well for my prints? Anything that would come up suspicious?
By the time we got there, Bobcat Security has already done their cleaning because it was some time after the fact, and the coroners came through and they took bodies out and stuff. So by the time we got there, everything was pretty much cleaned up.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to pry. It's just, I'd like to know the information if I'm getting falsely accused for it.
Is that everything, Mr. Panzek?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Bates, you can continue. If you have any further questions. Are you, I think your voice box is,
Mr. Leo, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I apologize for that. It is your car, correct?
Ideally, I haven't seen it since about 3:50ish yesterday, so
That's besides the point. The vehicle is your vehicle, correct?
correct.
You're the only one that has access to that said vehicle, correct?
Correct, unless of, someone either hotwires it or takes keys.
And you understand that you are responsible for everything that is in and outside of your vehicle, correct?
Correct.
So your fingerprints were on the steering wheel and the driver door, which were lifted after the alleged crime happened. You understand that, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Bates. Mr. Amos, do you have any further questions for your client?
I do not.
Okay. You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may call your final witness, Mr. Amos.
Mr. Maverick.
Mr. Maverick, you can take the stand.
All right. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Tay?
I do.
And do you solemnly affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
All right. All yours.
Alrighty, Mr. Maverick. What is your current occupation and rank within that occupation?
I am a bartender and part-time dancer at Bahama Mama.
Part-time dancer, huh? Were you
Yes, sir.
Were you on duty at Bahama Mamas on, let me get the exact date and time for you, on 3rd of August. No, sorry. Yeah, the 4th of August, my apologies. No, actually, it's not the 4th. I can't speak, okay?
Today's the
Sorry,
4th.
Once again. Well, yeah, for me it's the 5th. It's so confusing.
True. You live in the future.
Yeah, whatever day it is for you now, but yesterday at 4:34 p.m. were you on duty at Bahama Mamas?
Yes, sir. I got on at about 2:30 and I was there for a few hours, so probably until 6 or so.
All right, and whenever you had arrived, what car did you arrive in? Or how did you arrive?
I believe I rode with Willow there. It's usually what I do.
And is Willow your partner?
I don't believe that's important, Your Honor.
I didn't hear an
But yes.
objection.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Yes, she is.
What'd you say, Mr. Bates? I'm sorry.
It's hard to hear him.
Who?
The witness.
Oh.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Did you hear him that time?
I heard him say she is. I didn't hear the question.
Oh.
I asked if Willow was Maverick's partner.
Understood.
All right. So you arrived with Willow. Did you see Mr. Pesnick's black BMW parked at the very front spot where he usually parks?
I can't recall exactly, but I know that it is usually there. It kind of isn't something that I remembered, but I did see him inside.
I see. And so like you said, whenever you went inside, he was inside. Is that correct?
Chat, this is so interesting.
Yes, sir. I'm not sure at first, but
This
I know
is
that he was
so
there for
interesting,
the majority
chat.
of the night.
I can't
if
wait
not all
till
the night,
we go
honestly, because he
to
was
recess.
helping us out a bit
'cause
with
I'll
the drinks.
explain.
Because what I was doing is I was helping out with the drinks, kind of walking around. We were all hanging out.
I see. And at around 4:34 p.m. What were you guys doing around that time?
Taking some.
I believe we were probably
empty
still making
mugs.
drinks or doing dances.
Oh,
Okay. And are you connected on the said radio that Mr. Jason said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and at any point during the night, did you hear any commotion on that radio about any cars disappearing, anything like that?
I heard something about commotion. Couple hours in, I believe. It was just outside of the club, but no one was gone for long. I didn't really go check out what was going on.
I see. And you said you left about 6
you have to touch
p.m.,
yourself.
is that correct?
Wants to look down my shirt. That's what's going
Yes,
on.
sir.
And at around 6 p.m., whenever you left, whenever you were going outside, did you notice anything unusual? Any parking spots missing? Anything like that?
No, sir. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Alrighty, sir. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Mr. Bates, do you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead. This is so interesting because I've circled so many things in these notes because
My first name is Maverick.
this is crazy.
Nice to meet you, Maverick. You said that you left the club at around 6 o'clock. Is that accurate?
To my knowledge, yes.
And you didn't see anything of out of the ordinary or anything bizarre outside of the club?
No, not to my knowledge.
Did you see Mr. Leo's vehicle parked in his parking spot that he normally parks in, still present?
Again, I can't recall if his vehicle was there or not. I didn't pay attention to the vehicles when I walked in.
Okay. And before you left the club, did you see Mr.
It's
Leo
like the
on
longest
property?
case.
Yes, I did.
After you left the club, at any point, did you see Mr. or have contact with Mr. Leo?
Did you say after I left?
Yes, after you left the club, did you have any contact with Mr. Leo, whether in person or over the phone?
No, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Amos, do you have any further questions?
I do not.
Okay. Mr. White, do you have any further questions?
I have one question. This is for the general public. When looking at the MDT and looking at vehicles that someone owns, is the first set of numbers before the vehicle the license plate number?
I believe so.
Okay. Because just looking at the license plate numbers here and at the license picture of the license that was taken on the vehicle, they do not match up. Like, I don't see any vehicle owned by Mr. Parsec that has the same license plate as the one in the picture in the evidence. I could be wrong.
Let me look.
I myself can't really tell from the image. It's a bit far
You have
out.
to put it into your eyes and do some enhancing and zooming.
Ma'am, am I free to sit back down?
Could you send me that enhanced photo, possibly?
Yes.
Thank you. Five zero G. Hold on.
That light, the light's kind of obstructing it.
I don't even see one that starts with a 5.
Just to make it easy, I put the full picture in the docket so you can see it clearly. I know it's an issue with NDT.
Yeah, just make it aware it starts with a 5.
I
I don't
can
see any
confirm
vehicle
it
that starts with
matches.
a 5 under Mr. Parsec.
Okay.
I can confirm the
Your Honor,
BMW
I
M5
can confirm that the
60.
tag that is present on the picture and the docket is the same tag that is the first vehicle listed on Mr. Leo's profile.
Okay, it is. It does match.
But it is not not the one in the photo here, is it?
5. It's 5.
Yeah, it's
DG.
there. It's the first vehicle.
Judge, the up close photos and the
Yeah.
DMV results are in the docket.
Okay, I see it.
Oh yeah. I see
It does. They do match with each other.
Yeah.
I am terribly sorry. I was looking at the other person on the cases. That is absolutely a fault by me.
That is okay, Mr. White. All right. Are there any? There's no further questions for each side, correct?
Negative.
Okay. You can step down. All right. At this time, are there any further witnesses or any further evidence that you wish to present at this time? Either party.
Not from me.
Okay. Mr. Bates? I think your voice box is
Can you repeat that, Your Honor?
do you have any further evidence that you wish to provide or any witnesses that you'd like to call at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So what we will do now is we will take a brief recess, and when we reconvene, I will cast my verdict for Mr. Panzek.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, do I get a closing statement?
Oh, I'm
Statement.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
I have
sorry.
a closing statement as
I
well.
apologize. I'm sorry. This trial's been going on for over 2 hours.
Do you want to take a small 2-minute recess and do
It's been
closing
an hour and
statements?
44 minutes to be exact.
Almost 2 hours.
Might as well just knock them out now and take the
Okay.
recess. Yeah.
We can do the closing statements now. Mr. Bates, you may begin.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, today we heard a lot of testimony today from both parties regarding the situation that had occurred between Mr. Leo and LSPD. Through the testimony that we have heard, several people have testified that they arrived at the club at Bahama Mamas around the time of 2 to 3 in the afternoon. At no point did any witness at any time testify at what time that they left the club or saw Mr. Leo leave the club, except one person, which was 12 o'clock. Through several testimony, you had law enforcement testify that when they arrived on scene to a security building that had multiple firearms in it. Not only did that security building have multiple firearms in it, they heard gunshots coming from within that security building. Those individuals left that security building and led police on a high-speed pursuit, ultimately causing danger to life of others, reckless driving, ultimately putting every single person in harm's way. Officers had to neutralize that vehicle in order to stop them from creating reckless havoc in this city. You heard testimony that 4 individuals got out of the vehicle and began opening fire on 2 police officers who were on scene, striking both police officers. You heard testimony that those police officers went to the hospital with severe injuries that could have likely caused death. You heard testimony today from Officer Gio that his partner, Officer Blackburn, collected evidence. That evidence was fingerprints. Fingerprints that were on the steering wheel of Mr. Leo's vehicle. Fingerprints that were collected off the driver's door of Mr. Leo's vehicle. The same vehicle that Mr. Leo testified he's the only one to have access to. You heard testimony from Mr. Leo stating that he attempted to make a police report, but he has no evidence whatsoever to prove to the court that he attempted to make that police report for his stolen vehicle. I don't know about you, but if my vehicle was stolen, I would make a police report. I would let everybody know that my vehicle was stolen so that I couldn't be traced back to a crime. You heard testimony from people who worked with Mr. Leo, people that were under his guidance, people that worked closely with him, people that testified that they would do anything for Mr. Leo, even if it was just work related. How do we know that the people that testified today on stand, who are not only coworkers with Mr. Leo, probably friends with Mr. Leo, didn't come up with an elaborate story to fool all of us today in court?
Objection, bullshit.
It's a closing
Mr.
statement.
Amos.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bates.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's pretty apparent that you don't actually have to have possession of a firearm in order to be charged with armed robbery. The mere fact that you were in an establishment that had firearms, where gunshots were coming out of, that they fled out into, getting into a vehicle, then recklessly driving that vehicle, fleeing law enforcement, evading the apprehension, killing multiple people inside, and attempting to kill law enforcement. I think we've heard enough testimony today from all parties to say that there was inconsistent statements of time.
Said bullshit.
Happened around 11 p.m., which is inconsistent with their testimony about what time they arrived and the fact that they never saw Mr. Leo leave. How do they even know that he was still on property? We asked you to reject the defense's theories of this case and find the defendant guilty of all charges. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Mr. Amos, your closing argument.
Alrighty. Just before I begin my full statement, just want to let everybody know that as the prosecution had made aware, multiple officers, I believe it was 2, attended hospital with apparent life-threatening, almost causing death injuries, whilst the officer on the stand had confirmed that the only injuries that he had himself was bruising. I will now continue. So, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the courtroom today, we have heard the evidence, witnesses, and arguments surrounding the case of Leo Panzek, who stands accused of armed robbery, felony reckless evading, and second-degree homicide. While the charges are undoubtedly serious, it is vital to remember that every individual deserves a fair trial and the presumption of innocence until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Throughout this trial, we have presented evidence challenging the prosecution's version of events, leaving room for uncertainty and reasonable doubt that Mr. Panzek has been on duty at his job at Hammerman's for the remainder of the day, before and after the alleged Bobcat robbery, despite the fact that there has been no items or weapons linking to Mr. Leo Panzek. The burden of proof lies on the prosecution to establish Leo Panzek's guilt beyond any reasonable doubt. As the defense, we have shown that the evidence presented by the prosecution is circumstantial and lacks conclusive evidence linking Mr. Panzek to the crimes. Moreover, it is essential to remember that character is not synonymous with guilt. Leo Panzek's past should not cloud our judgment. Our legal system is designed to protect the innocent, even those with troubled histories. In light of the evidence presented, we urge you to carefully consider the fact and to make a just decision based on the evidence rather than emotions or preconceived notions. It is our hope that you will see the gaps in the prosecution's case and acquit Leo Panzek of the charges against him. Thank you for your diligent attention throughout this trial, and we trust that you will make a fair and just decision in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. All right, at this time, we will now take a brief recess, and when we return, I will make a decision.
Oh my god, how did I do?
Oh, wait, 1 second. I think you did really well. Boy.
I know I'm supposed to be on this side, as
Right.
a officer, but there's a couple points that kind of make no sense.
The witness's testimony is not corroborating with each other.
Yeah, but
Because
also
he said he arrived at 12 and everyone else said he was already there at around 2, 3, 4 p.m. So.
I mean, that corroborates then. Because
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's corroborating. Oh, I just helped you out. You almost made the wrong thoughts. But what I was talking about
Oh, that's
is,
right. Oops.
I don't know what to call them. I'm just gonna say the plaintiff attorney keeps on bringing up the fact that he has the keys and solely had the keys to his vehicle. But I don't think he realizes that the crime rates for stolen vehicles are super high right now.
That's true. However, I will say that the bullet casings as well as the fingerprints that trace back to Mr. Panzek is not really questionable in my mind.
I mean, it's his vehicle.
It is his vehicle, but this was after the car had wrecked. So, this was after the crime that was committed.
It should have smudged off a bit.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, but it was still found that it traced back to him, as well as bullet casing. And also, obviously, the license plate was checked and it came back to him as his vehicle. And the license plate does match to him. So, let's see. There was also the fact that I circled some things as well as Amber Jones said that she wasn't aware of the vehicle. She didn't know the type of vehicle that there was. Igor was unsure of the arrival time of Mr. Panzek. There was also no physical evidence to corroborate what they were saying at any point in time, even outside when some of them even noticed that the vehicle was gone, that they didn't take any photos. And the fact that even Mr. Panzek admits that he attempted to file a police report but didn't actually do it, because if you attempt to do something doesn't actually mean that it happened. So that's why it's called attempted.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing is about the lack of footage and the tracing of the fingerprints and the bullet casing, as well as some of these witnesses unsure of when he came, don't know about like the type of vehicle that he drove, and that even no other cars disappeared according to Jason. And it was only his that disappeared. So I think the testimony, despite how many were speaking, I have doubts from the witnesses, from what they testified.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 30 minutes gives him enough time to get back to, the club or whatever he works at.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's see. So I'll go ahead and scratch out these things. 12 p.m. arrival.
I'm a bit confused though, because if they did see 3 to 4 people get out of the vehicle, why was his prints the only one?
Well, no,
He had a
there
good
there were
point on the gloves, you know?
the gloves. There were other fingerprints that were on the vehicle. It's just that they didn't register. That was the point that the trooper made.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not as if like no other prints existed. It's just that they could not be traced back to anybody else.
Okay, so either they've never been arrested or they just had gloves or they smudged off a bit.
The other interesting thing is that Mr. Panzek also said that the police could have impounded his vehicle. But if it was parked in front of Bahama Mamas, there were, if it disappeared, obviously the police, how am I trying to word this? Uh, so he admits that they probably could have impounded his vehicle. But why would he assume that if it just disappeared, according to the other witnesses? Because typically, if something like disappears like that, and one witness even said that it thought it was the city that took it away. So, who said that? Which one said that? Also, the fact that one of them said they heard a car alarm outside, but
Didn't go check on it
they
or
didn't,
anything.
yeah, they didn't check on it and assumed that it was just the crazy hubbub that always occurs outside of these establishments.
So, do you think the witness that said that they saw him there the entire time was lying then? There was one witness who said they were there the entire time.
There was one that did say that, but I do think that other testimony says otherwise. I mean, there's multiple questions in my mind about the witnesses. I don't really have any doubts from the prosecution because my main focus is obviously the bullet casing and the fingerprint that came back to him after the crime was committed, because that's when it was checked. And like I said before, no physical evidence from any of the witnesses. And I'm still trying to find who's. Oh, here we go. It was Jason that said, assume the city took the cars, not the police. So, but there was a possibility that, according to Panzek, that the police could have impounded it. So it's very. I have doubts with the witnesses. I do. Because in my mind, I think that all these witnesses came here just to try to attempt to corroborate his story, just to say that he was there when really he actually did commit the crime, but it was just a way to cover his crimes.
Like cover up.
A cover up. And look, there are many witnesses here, and if their stories corroborated a little bit better, which they could have rehearsed before coming in here. They could have rehearsed to say, like, you say this, you say that, but obviously with
So it would have been a lot better if they had less witnesses
yes
that matched up than instead of having 20 witnesses that have different stories.
Yes, I think it was a bad idea to have as many witnesses here, because the things that I've circled, not even about the time, because obviously I got that a little confused, but anything other than that, like that gave me doubts. So I honestly think that he did commit the crimes. So that's how I'm gonna rule is, and I can explain some things here that I've explained to them.
And nothing happens to the witnesses for lying, right?
Well, they were under oath, and
the one that said that they saw him there the entire time, for example.
Yeah, they could technically be perjured, so, or they were perjured based on what they said. But I guess in this instance, I'm not going to really enforce that on them. I'm just going to focus more on just Mr. Panzek at this point. If we have as many witnesses as we do right now, then yeah, I'll probably do it next time. But for how long this trial has gone for, We'll
Yeah,
just
it's been
conclude.
2 hours now.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours. Okay. I think I'm ready for everyone to reconvene, and then as they're doing that, just let me know. Just let me know when they're all ready. Okay, so let's see.
All right. At this time, everyone go back to your seats.
Carla, I'm outside, unsure of arrival.
May y'all rise for the judge.
Oh, you don't have to do that again.
Oh, never mind. Just sit back down. The judge is coming out. I'm new to this, remember, all right? Appreciate that.
You can sit down, everybody.
She has a smile on her face.
What, Mr. Amos? Who does?
What happened?
Yeah, I heard a spider on the face.
No. What?
Okay. Okay, so I have looked carefully and took into consideration the testimony that has been given today by all these witnesses. And I just have a couple things that I would like to go over before I give my decision. So, first off, obviously the fingerprints were were collected from the vehicle, and as the trooper has stated previously, that there were multiple fingerprints on the vehicle, around the vehicle. Was it around the vehicle, the entire vehicle? Was it through passenger doors as well that you found? It's just they didn't register?
In the vehicle and just various other places inside the vehicle.
Oh, inside the vehicle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were multiple fingerprints found within the vehicle, but there were only there was one found on the steering wheel in the vehicle that did trace back to Mr. Panzek, and this occurred after the crime was committed. This happened after the Bobcat robbery, when the vehicle did crash and was pinned up against a pole, according to the trooper, and that is obviously afterwards. That's when the fingerprints, after medical and everything, was taking place. The next thing that I also want to mention is that the license plate that was checked does match the photo of the vehicle in question during the incident. It did trace back to Leo, but obviously, there's the idea that, obviously the vehicle may have been stolen. But I do want to get to that point as well, because even if the vehicle was stolen, Mr. Panzek, you did admit that you attempted to attempted to get the police to file a report of a stolen vehicle. However, attempting to do something does not necessarily mean that it actually happened. So with your attempt with calling the police or filing a report, I mean, it doesn't mean that it actually took place. So, let's see, what else do we have here? So in regards to the witnesses, there were some things I had some questions about in my mind, and these were more rhetorical questions. So clearly that there were, according to all these witnesses, there were no any physical recordings of anything, photos, and obviously there is a policy with that within the building you cannot have any photography, any videography whatsoever. However, when a couple of these witnesses went outside, there were no photos or videos taken of the vehicle that disappeared at this time. And let's see what else did I have here. So one instance of the testimony was from Mr. Jason, who described that that the vehicle did disappear from in front of Bahama Mamas, but that no other vehicles did disappear at this time. And he also testified that he assumed that the city was the one that took it away, not the police. And Mr. Panzek actually testified that the police could have impounded his vehicle. So my rhetorical question to this was, if there was a possibility that the police could have impounded this vehicle, then why did Mr. Jason assume that the city took it at that time? In terms of the time frame of when Mr. Panzek arrived and then when everyone else saw him at that time, at least there is some corroboration in that. However, my main focus in this entire adjudication was the fact that the fingerprints trace back to you, the vehicle in question did trace back to you, and that the witnesses' testimony did not corroborate as well as they should have. And also, there were many witnesses that were trying to attest to this account, but I think that with as many witnesses as there wasn't really that much organization within their testimony. So, after all of me saying this, I find that the defendant is guilty of all charges. I believe that he actually committed the crime in question.
Okay.
That is my ruling.